At 7:31 a.m., under buzzing lights that made everything look a shade too honest, a sheriff read the words that made every folding chair groan a little as people shifted. Misappropriation fraud. Criminal trespass. The HOA president's gavel trembled like a dime store prop, and I slid a certified plat map across the table, calm as a level on fresh lumber, and said, "You never had jurisdiction over my cabin, and you knew it." 3 weeks earlier, I was on my porch with a caulk gun in one hand and coffee in the other, watching the pines breathe over the ridge like the place had lungs. Name's Evan Carter. Weekdays, I tell contractors to add joist hangers or fix grounding so nobody gets lit up. Weekends, I repair the cedar cabin my dad left me. Small, stubborn, warm if you treat it right. At 6:02 a.m., knuckles like doorbell chimes on steroids. I opened to sunglasses, a tight bob, and a clipboard clutched like a sheriff's star. Morning, she said, smile stretched so thin you could see the wire. I'm Janet Cole, president of Pine Hollow Ridge HOA. We've had a report of unauthorized structural modifications visible from the road. I glanced at my new rail, the clean line of screws, the stain still sweet in the cool air. You're standing on private property, I said, and this parcel isn't in Pine Hollow. She lifted the clipboard like scripture. Our bylaws allow aesthetic review of any structure visible from community roads. Not a thing, I said, friendly as a porch light. If you refuse, we'll issue escalating fines and place a lien. She already had the pen uncapped, ready to make it real. I kept my tone flat enough to skate on. Janet, you're talking about a lien on land you don't govern. And for the record, I'm the county building inspector. I sign permits in Ashford, including my own under County Code 12118. My filings are public. Her smile fell off like a magnet off a fridge. That's a conflict. It's legal filed and stamped. She slapped a notice into my palm anyway. $500 for non-compliant exterior aesthetics and unapproved railing due end of month or else. She clicked down my gravel like each step was a warning. You ever feel that slow bubble of heat behind your ribs? Not anger exactly, more like a promise you make to yourself. I won't be bullied today. Yeah, that was me. I set the fine by the toaster, bumped my porch camera a notch, called records. Morning, Maya. I need a certified copy of the Pine Hollow plat and their jurisdiction map, plus any annexation east of the ridge. What did they do now, she sighed. Already typing. Trying to govern land they don't own. Paper doesn't lie. The days tasted like metal after that. I worked the rail. Watched my camera app, tried not to feed the beast. On the fifth night at 12:41 a.m., a silver crossover slid in with lights off. A figure walked up. Slow dropped a thick envelope in my mailbox and slipped away like guilt. The new fine was $750, with language so cute it felt handwritten by a hall monitor. Maintenance activities that disrupt community harmony, and a hint they might call the utility if my work looked unsafe. I took a long 7-count breath, poured coffee I didn't want, and started a list on a legal pad, because lists calm the part of me that wants to yell. Midnight delivery footage, check. Copy of my self-inspection filing, check. Photos of code-compliant rail, check. Maya's maps pending. 10 minutes later, she called back. You'll like this, Evan. Your parcel is 0.4 miles outside Pine Hollow's boundary. No recorded annexation. And there's a boundary revision from 4 years ago with no notarization. If they're using it, it's toilet paper. Send the certified plat and the bad revision. I said I'll pick them up. Be careful, she added. People who hide behind clipboards don't like losing face. On my way out, Earl, retired surveyor coffee mug dog that looks like spare parts, lifted 2 fingers off his steering wheel. "You stirring the hive." "Stirred itself," I said. "I'm just bringing a flashlight. Pins at the ridge haven't moved since God and the county agreed." He said I can show a judge with both eyes shut. By lunch, I had 3 stamped sets in manila folders. I stopped at the sheriff's office for Deputy Ron Granger, a calm man built like he was hired to carry refrigerators. He watched the midnight clip, nodded once. Delivering notices at 12:41 a.m. without permission is trespass. People love to pretend gray areas where there aren't any. Want me to send a warning? "Not yet," I said. "Let's see how far they push." On the way home, my phone lit up. Pine Hollow's Facebook page had a post. "Aggressive homeowner acts outside legal bounds." Cropped photo of my porch address numbers, conveniently fuzzy. Half the comments were HOA diehards chanting about order. The other half were folks who've lived here long enough to know the difference between order and control. Walt wrote Janet. "You're barking up the wrong tree." Leslie wrote, "He keeps to himself and helps neighbors." The post vanished before dinner. The next morning, a man in a Navy sport coat walked up like he was selling timeshares in 1999. "I'm Kent Willoughby, counsel for Pine Hollow. We can resolve this without escalation. Submit a retroactive application, and we'll expedite. Small fee." "Retroactive application for changes you can't approve," I said. "Courts look to developer intent." He tried. "Courts look to recorded filings." I said we're in North Carolina, not Narnia. His smile dimmed. I held up a thumb drive and let the light catch it. "Also tell your client not to deliver fines in the dark. Deputy says that's trespass. No need to involve law enforcement. Too late, there's already a report." He left with shoulders that said, "A chair just got kicked out from under him." Then came the twist, the kind that flips the table you didn't realize was bolted down. A woman in a rust cardigan introduced herself as Olivia Fenwick, former board secretary. "I'm not with them," she blurted. "I left 3 months ago. Quietly." Why quietly? Because Janet told me to backdate minutes and insert votes for budget items we never discussed. When I refused, she locked me out. Told folks I moved, replaced me without an election. She handed me a folder, drafts and finals from 6 months of meetings, differences you could spot from the parking lot. Drafts had no pump station. Finals had a big shiny line item for repairs to a pump station on land that is according to the parcel map. Just woods. "Can you testify?" "Yes," she said. "I just want it to stop." I called Deputy Granger and County Auditor Sonia Reyes, whose voice is gentle, but whose binders have ended careers. Sonia found an unregistered sub-account labeled extraction fees, sweet name for something that smells like skimming, and flagged the pump station as a ghost. Maya confirmed the boundary revision was never notarized, which means it has all the legal force of a grocery list. And because life loves symmetry, I got a fake legal letter tucked under my wiper, accusing me of defamation and abuse of authority, demanding an apology signed with Janet's handwriting, but sporting a Charleston firm's letterhead. No bar number, no license. A Halloween costume for a threat. I walked it to the courthouse and handed it over like a cat bringing a mouse to the porch. That night, I spread everything across my table like a mechanic's tray. Maps, minutes, photos, the thumb drive, Earl's old notes with bearings and dates. And I emailed the HOA to speak at their next open meeting, attaching copies and copying the deputy and the auditor. No speeches, no gotchas, just daylight. The clubhouse at 7:30 a.m. Smells like burnt coffee and hope. Plastic nameplate says President, in all caps, which is the kind of thing you don't need if you're actually leading. Janet banged the gavel like a metronome for anxiety. Agenda Item 1. Disciplinary action for homeowner Evan Carter for ongoing non-compliance and unauthorized modifications visible from community roads. I stood, hands visible. Voice even. Before you vote, 2 facts. 1, the county recognizes my filings under Code 12-118, which are public. 2, this parcel is not under Pine Hollow's jurisdiction. Here is the certified plat. Here is the non-notarized boundary revision you relied on. Here is camera footage of a fine delivered at 12:41 a.m. Here are board minutes altered after the fact to justify spending that never got a vote. The room rumbled like weather. Security, she snapped. Remove him. Deputy Granger was already on his feet. We're not removing anyone, he said. But we are keeping this on the record. A board member tried a soft landing voice. There must be some misunderstanding about the map. Auditor Reyes opened her binder and read like a surgeon calling instruments. Recorded plat. Sets the eastern boundary at the ridge, no annexation east of it. A 4-year-old boundary, revision with no notarization. Has no legal effect, fines east of the ridge are void. The treasurer's ledger shows an unregistered sub-account labeled extraction fees. Minutes exhibit post hoc insertions of unanimous votes that don't appear in drafts provided by the former secretary present today. She flipped a page. Also, a budget line for a pump station on undeveloped woods. Administrative oversight, Janet tried to laugh. Administrative oversight doesn't trespass at midnight, I said. 12:41 a.m. Silver crossover lights off. The side door opened and another deputy stepped in with a folder. By order of the county, and with cooperation from the DA, cease and desist on fines east of the ridge, effective immediately, and we have a warrant to seize relevant financial records from the Pine Hollow office. Nobody breathed. A tired board member half raised his hand. Madam President, maybe we should table. And from the back, a woman stood and said, no more tables. We vote now. You could feel the room tilt. People stopped looking at Janet and started looking at each other. Motion to remove her as president pending investigation and appoint a receiver. Seconded. The gavel landed like a period, not a parade. No speeches, no victory lap. I packed my binder, nodded to Olivia and Maya and the deputy, and stepped into morning air that smelled like cut grass and the first clean minute after a storm. People think winning feels like fireworks. Sometimes it feels like a chair finally stops wobbling. On the drive home, I heard my dad. The way you hear a wrench clink in an empty truck bed, measure twice, cut once, and the inspector in me answered, check twice file. Once proof is heavier than noise. Look, I know the rebuttal. You only won because you know the system. Maybe. But I also know what it is to be the quiet guy who gets fined for the color of a rail while the real rot hides in spreadsheets and secret accounts. I know what it is to swallow things, to keep the peace, and how the bullies count on that. The line between keeping a neighborhood decent and turning into a hall monitor with a badge is thin, and some folks tie it around their finger until the blood stops. Give them a clipboard, and they'll try to measure your soul with it, you know what I mean. That's where I'll leave it, at the consequence, not the celebration. Tell me what you see in this down in the comments. Do HOAs protect value, or just protect whoever holds the gavel? Where's the line between standards and control? Have you lived this? Good boards that serve bad boards that punish neighbors who stood up when it counted. Right, wrong, or messy in the middle. Say your piece.